Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my second review. You want to know the real problem with a story revolving around time travel and the altering of time? The reason why plenty of writers are somewhat hesitant to make a story revolving around that. It's simple. Details. In an anime like The Future Diary, details really matter because you're going to deal with time and altering of it, and as a result, you need to keep in mind that if you don't pay attention to all the details that you write, eventually your story is going to fall apart because plot holes will start to exist by details that you have forgotten about, and as such, your story will end up sinking faster than you can say, "I'm king of the world." Now, this problem with The Future Diary was the simple fact that every single time that the story tried to one-up itself, being more oh snap than the last time, and the problem with that really is that at the end, you just can't one-up yourself anymore, and you've basically written yourself in a serious problem where you just end up having to deal with, well, plot holes. So let's just talk about this anime for a bit. Let's just see what I thought about it, because honestly, some people would say that because of these large inconsistencies and the plot holes nearing the end of the show isn't worth watching. I would personally disagree, so let me tell you exactly why. So the story of The Future Diary follows our character of Yuki, a normal high school boy who is a bit of a loner. He's, to use his own words, he's an observer. He sits in the classroom, he just watches other people, but never really contributes to any of the conversations or anything of the sort. And he writes everything down that he finds in his own diary that he keeps. This diary is on his phone, and he uses this to basically write down everything that happens around him, not so much things that happen to himself, but more things that happen around him. And one day, alongside 11 other people, Yuki is given an power-up, if you will. His phone all of a sudden becomes capable of keeping track of the future. Not so much by him anymore, because he's not writing in it anymore. No, the future tells him, or the phone is going to tell him what's going to happen before it's happening. And he finds out that this is because of the god of the world, Deus Ex Machina. The god of time and space himself has chosen him and 11 other people to take part in a, well, slaughter, if you will. It's a game for survival. And whoever is left standing at the end will be chosen as the new god, since the old god, Deus Ex Machina, is dying. You know, despite the fact that he is a god, and that really started to make no sense to me at all. But that aside. Now, honestly, the story in the beginning is quite gripping and really interesting to watch, in my personal opinion. I was fairly interested, and as a result of that, nearing the point where you start to notice these inconsistencies and plot holes, you start to realize that the story is going to fall apart. However, I stick around and watch the entire show, not so much for the story, but more for the characters. Since, aside from the main character, to be honest, I didn't really like the main character. I thought he was quite disappointing and just honestly a pushover. He was always whining and always relying too much on actually the character that is most interesting in the show, called Yuno, which was quite disappointing. Only nearing the end of the show he starts to grow a backbone and actually does something that makes him worth watching, but by that time it was too late for me. But aside for him, every other character in this anime has something of interest to them, mainly because of one reason: they're all insane. That's pretty much how it works. Not everyone as much as the previous one, but they all have something to them that makes them completely and utterly insane, which is quite enjoyable to say the least. With the female lead character, being the most insane of them all. For some reason, she is completely in love with our main character of Yuki. Honestly, I don't see it, but hey, that's me. But seriously, she has no problem at all killing you if you have something against your relationship or her relationship with Yuki, which makes her quite enjoyable to watch. She goes to extreme lengths to protect him. She, well, to use her own words, is crazy good at killing, and she clearly shows it throughout the show. If anyone tries to tell you that the Future Diary is not a gore fest, well, they're lying. Blood everywhere. Not as bad as some other shows, but definitely out there and definitely quite bloody. Now, like I said, every character has something enjoyable to them, and everything tends to be quite fun to watch. However, the watching part is at the same time also kind of a downside, mainly because of the animation. The animation in the show, well, it's not bad per se, it's not entirely good. There is, well, it's just average, really. There wasn't anything in the show that made me go and say, that actually looked freaking amazing. There wasn't any point in the show that I could point out and be like, that right there, that was awesome. That looked just mind-blowing. There isn't anything like that, unfortunately enough. However, the soundtrack definitely makes it quite enjoyable to listen to, especially the first opening to the show being completely and utterly amazing. Without a doubt, the first opening to the show is probably, if I would have a list like that, at the top 10 list somewhere of favorite anime openings. Unfortunately enough, like any great anime opening, they tend to get replaced at the halfway point, and even though the second opening isn't really bad at all, it was actually quite good too. It was just sad to see the first opening go. With that being said though, the show was quite enjoyable. Honestly, the characters make it really enjoyable. The story was fun at the beginning, and even though the animation isn't necessarily great, it wasn't bad either. The soundtrack is just fun to listen to, but I will note that if you are one of those people that tend to be just too much focused on exactly what's going on in the story and you try to pay attention to every little detail, you're going to be sorely disappointed at the end. However, if you're one of those people who can focus more on the other aspects of the show and just enjoy it for what it is, you're probably going to have one hell of a time with it. As it stands, I enjoyed this show. I really did, and in the end, that's really all that matters. I can't necessarily give this anime a shining recommendation of, say, it's a 10 out of 10 anime. No, because it's not. The story nearing the end is such a mess that it's impossible to give it such a shining recommendation. However, this is definitely on the good side of animes, and I would give this anime a 7 out of 10. It's not great, but it's fairly enjoyable, and it's still a good anime to watch. If you just have nothing other to do, watch it. You'll find it probably quite enjoyable. So, with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed my second review, and I do hope to see you all again soon, some point in the future. Thank you all for watching. Bye.